We're recording.
Good evening, and welcome to the Planning and Zoning meeting for this evening, Thursday, May the 4th, 2023. Thanks for everyone coming out tonight. First order of business will be our public hearings, and our first public hearing will be amendment to section 405.140 regarding sidewalk and pedestrian way, amendment -129. Mr. Burks?
As a preliminary matter for this public hearing, I'll ask the publication notice published in Warren County Record be made part of the record by reference. The city's comprehensive plan and city ordinance be made part of the record by reference. In the Planning and Zoning Officer report be made part of the record by reference. And this section 405.140 of the City Municipal Code titled Sidewalks and Pedestrian Ways hereby modified as follow. Section 405.140 Sidewalks and Pedestrian Way, Section B, number 3. So we're removing the sidewalks require 2, number 4 rebar, and continuous, evenly spaced and joint are to be pinned. The public hearing was posted in the Warren County Record on April 13th of 2023. Do you have any questions for me?
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Burks? Anyone in the audience would like to speak on behalf of this amendment tonight? Hearing none, we'll close that public hearing and open up our second public hearing. That'll be the amendment to section 420.090 fence regulations, amendment -130. Mr. Burks, bring us up to speed, please.
As a preliminary matter for this public hearing, I'll ask the publication notice be published. Notice published in the Warren County Record be made part of the record by reference. The city comprehensive plan and city ordinance be made part of the record by reference, and the Planning and Zoning Officer report be made part of the record by reference. This section 420.090 fence regulations, section C. On a corner lot, the fence shall not extend beyond the established front building line, nor shall any fence extend beyond the, and then we're going to remove interior side lot line and rear lot line and replace that with side building line or rear right-of-way on either public road. No fence shall be located on street right-of-way or on the exterior lot line. A fence shall not be permitted within required site distance area. And the public hearing notice was posted in Warren County Record on April 13th of 2023.
Anyone have a question for Mr. Burks at this time? Hearing none, anybody in the audience would like to speak? If you want to speak, you step to the podium. Ma'am, state your name.
Are you suggesting that?
Go ahead and state your name first, please.
Melissa Heskett?
Thank you.
Are you stating basically, is that meaning that you cannot have a fence in your front yard because it's close to a public road, or
Our code already prevents a fence in the front yard.
even if it's a decorative marker? Okay, is it within the city limits or Warren, just all of the county, or?
City limits.
City limits.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else have comments tonight? Hearing none, we'll close our public hearing for that and move to the third public hearing, which will be the Edge Melts Office Building Warehouse Site Plan and Conditional Use, Site Plan 162 and Conditional Use Permit -89.
As a preliminary matter for this public hearing, I will ask the publication notice published in Warren County Record be made part of the record by reference. The city comprehensive plan and city ordinance be made part of the record by reference. And the Planning and Zoning Officer report be made part of the record by reference. This is going to be Ed Schmeltz Office Building, SP 162 and CUP 89. Chris Wolf of Wonderlook Surveying and Engineering had submitted a site plan application on behalf of Ed Schmeltz for approval for 4.23 acres of area of land on the west side of Highway 47, north of Bruni Parkway. The site plan shows construction of 2 office buildings and a warehouse building being built in 3 phases. Office building number 1 is 6,000 square feet. Office building number 2 is 10,000 square feet. And the warehouse building, number 3, is 8,724 square feet. Appendix A of the zoning code shows the 2 office buildings as a permitted use, and the warehouse building is shown as a conditional use. The subject site is Zone C3 Highway Commercial District, and it's surrounded by property of the same zoning classification to the south and west. Preliminary storm water indicates stormwater is handled through an existing detention facility to the west of the site. The final design is to ensure the proposed system is appropriately designed to address the design storm event will be submitted during construction/improvement plan process. The final determination of the contribution to the Stormwater Management Improvement Fund, Section 430.050, will be made in conjunction with the Stormwater Management Plan. The proposal is consistent with Chapter 405 regulations of the Warren Municipal Code. All items and notices have been provided and completed as required by state and local law. Mr. Schmaltz is here tonight, and the engineer, Chris, is here, can answer questions on this project. Do you have any questions for me?
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Burks? We'll open up the floor to anybody that would like to talk on this time. State your name, sir.
Yes, my name is Chris Wolf with Wonder Lake Survey and Engineering. I am here to talk about the site plan and conditional use permit. I do have a few slides that I'd like to go through. If you guys have any questions at any time, just let me know. So this is off of 47 South next to the existing Critter Health facility. There's already an existing MoDOT entrance there. So MoDOT's, that entrance put in previously, so we are using the exact same entrance. It's actually pointed directly to our site. So we've already talked to MoDOT about that. I mean, that entrance was put there for this tract of ground in the first place. So there will be a modification to that existing entrance. There is a concrete island in the middle of it. The concrete island's going to be removed and just pavement put back there. The existing zoning is C3 already, so it's zoned for what we're trying to do there. This slide just shows the location. This shows our zoning, so we do have C3 all around us except to the north, which is R1. So with that being said, on our plan, we have 3 different buildings shown to be done in 3 phases. So the first phase is going to be an office slash shop building. When I say shop building, it's for maintenance. So basically he's going to have his sales office at this facility. So with all of the development that ELS Properties has been doing in Warrenton, they decided to make a second office up here. So that's what this building is going to be, his office building, maintenance staff on the back side. On phase 2 is what we called, it's called out as a warehouse building. Ultimately what that is, and the owner here is kind of going to expand on this, but ultimately that's for staging and stocking his facilities. He uses it only for himself. There's not going to be anybody else coming in using this building as storage. Ultimately, it's going to be where he stores cabinets, where he puts, AC units, where he puts stocking supplies for his facilities as he's building out projects. So it's basically going to be used hand in hand with his development, only his use for that building. And then the third building will be a future office building. So as his company grows, he's just planning for the future. That more of a L-shaped building would be the full-time office. And then the office, the first building that we started out with right now, would then just turn into a full-time maintenance building. So right now, the first building is maintenance and office. It would just go to a maintenance building, and the third building would become the office building. So it's basically just kind of a big picture plan. We want to make sure we brought the whole picture to you guys so you can look at it on the front end to know what the plan is for this. That's why the site plan locks it in, and the conditional use. The reason for the conditional use is because the second building, the building in the back, that's going to be used for the storage of basically the components of his shop building. As far as the buffer to the north, we're commercial, they're residential, we have to provide a buffer. We're basically going to leave the existing trees that are there, the vast majority of it. We have one storm sewer pipe that runs around that's going to have to do a little bit of clearing to get down into, there's an existing ditch that flows through that wooded area. We're trying to get back to that. But as far as the rest of it, the trees will remain as a buffer between this facility and the existing homes. This building here, this slide shows the front elevation view. So the front elevation view is going to have brick and stucco front, and then the back is going to be metal siding with the garage doors. That's kind of the maintenance facility is going to all be on the back side, and both sides of the building are full brick and stucco. And to conclude, the piece is already zone C3. As far as the stormwater and detention Tim alluded to, this was part of the Bruni development. There's a detention basin directly behind this that basin was sized for this. I have not been able to track down those calculations to this point. I know the reviewer wanted to see a copy of those calculations, so I'm in the process of still trying to track that down. But based on the original design, this facility was zone commercial, and it was incorporated in that original basin. There's sanitary sewer, there's storm sewer, there's water, everything's already on the site. There's a MoDOT entrance already there. So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward as far as the site goes. If you guys have any questions, I'll try to answer them. Ed can speak on behalf of the building uses if you got any other questions about that.
So will there be any access, once you go, I understand where you're going into from 47. Once you get back in there, is there going to be an access that goes back over to Bruni Parkway?
No, there's
Okay.
not going to be any access because there's no, the property doesn't extend all the way back down around.
Okay.
So it's just within its site itself.
So you have one entrance and one exit, basically.
Correct. Yes.
And then you mentioned you have 3 phases. Your first phase is office, shop, building, correct?
Yes.
You mentioned maintenance. Can you elaborate what that means?
Yeah, I'll let Ed speak on that if you don't mind.
Hello, Ed Schmeltz with ELS Properties. So just to expand a little bit on the first building, which is 6,000 square feet, it's basically split in half side to side. So the front half of the building is 3,000 square feet, and that's all office space for all of our property managers and potential real estate agents. And then the back of it is for maintenance. So maintenance on our rental properties that we have up here, Orange Blossom Estates, Creekside, and a couple other things within the area that we're working on right now also. So we'll store, we basically try to stock it, water heater elements, furnace filters, just things like that. So that's the use for that.
Do you expect like trucks or whatever to be there, like in the back, like regularly parked?
Yes, so we do have the garage door, so we'll park all of our trucks inside. Mhm. And then the warehouse building, which would come probably about a year later, it's a 10,000 square foot with a loading dock. So obviously right now we have a lot of supply chain issues for the last couple of years. We don't know how long that's going to last. So we've been in the habit of trying to order truckloads of cabinets, truckloads of appliances, just to make sure we have these for all these facilities that we're doing. So we're having to stockpile them. So that's what that is. That's what the warehouse would be for, is to stockpile different materials for our construction. Once again, just our use, though.
Do you anticipate, or are you asking for any exterior storage of pallets or other materials that wouldn't otherwise go in the building? Equipment, backhoes, skid steers, any of that?
Oh,
And the brick that you're planning to put on the front of the buildings, I'm assuming that's a nice brick that you're not going to paint over.
I hope
so. Well, I'm being a little sarcastic, that you're not going to paint over brown later.
no.
So that's always stuck in my
And
craw.
on supply
that
chain.
that's happened. But it looks like, yeah. Because I could actually see this from my bedroom, so I'll be...
No, it'll look nice. I mean, we want, it's right on 47, it's on the main drag. This
Yeah.
is our first office expansion outside of Union.
Oh, sure.
We want it to be, our
Well,
brand, we want it to look nice.
You've been very good neighbors to
So-
our city, and we appreciate that, so...
Yeah, thank you.
That was just a little bit of my sad sense of humor there.
How long do you anticipate the 3 phases to take?
So we expect to start the first building within the next 3 or 4 months, and it'll probably take 6 months to build. The warehouse building will probably start about next August, is what we're thinking. And then the third building is kind of up in the air right now. Just depending on how things go, honestly.
So like, what's your window of timeline that, just to add to that? So phase 1, you said 3 to 6 months you're gonna start, but overall, what did you envision the completion overall from
Well-
the first and the second?
Yeah, so the first and the second should be done within a year and a half. And the third, so yeah, we can pave everything and leave the third building out and do that at a future time.
Any other questions at
I
this
had a
time from Mr. Smells? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank
We'll
you.
come back to you in a little bit.
I had a question, if you can hear.
If anybody else wants to speak, we have...
There's a Zoom meeting question.
Oh, Mr. Cornell, I forgot about you, buddy. Sorry about that. Go ahead, John.
Thank you. I saw the front elevation or the elevations on phase 1. Would the brick and stucco front be consistent on the warehouse also?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
All 3 buildings would
And-
have brick and stucco on the entire front.
Thank you. Then the only other concern I had, of course, is you, as Mr. Barton said, you've been a good neighbor to the city. My concern would be if that property ever changes hand, would you have objections to restrictions being placed similar to what Mr. Costello brought up, restrictions against outside storage of materials and equipment?
I'm fine with that. I don't plan on
Okay.
selling it, so.
Okay.
I think the conditions run with the property regardless, John.
Yeah.
Correct
I'm
me if I'm
sorry?
wrong.
Yes, that's
Yeah. I'm fine with a no outside storage condition.
Anything else, John?
I don't believe so.
You sound like you're on Mars.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm at my desk. The only other, maybe not a question for Mr. Schmelz, but a comment would be, again, I love the intention to leave that wooded buffer, but would hope that we could somehow regulate that is maintained over the years and that's part of the conditional use. But that's all I've got.
Okay, thanks, John. Anyone else have anything to say at this time? Thank you, sir. Anybody in the audience would like to speak at this time on the public hearing?
Was this the last of the agenda for the public hearing?
That's, we're on,
For this item.
for this item.
Actually, I'm more interested in about the apartment buildings being built throughout.
That's later.
That's later on. Yeah, we'll get back to you there. All right, hearing no one on this public hearing, we'll close that one and move on to our last public hearing for this evening, and that is the Joyce Law Site Plan -163. Mr. Burks?
As a preliminary matter for this public hearing, I would ask the publication notice published in Warren County Record be made part of the record by reference, the city comprehensive plan and city ordinance be made part of the record by reference, and the planning and zoning officer report be made part of the record by reference. This is Joyce Law Office Site Plan, SP 163. Tim and Sherry Joyce have submitted an application for a site plan approval for 625 East Veterans Memorial Parkway, Warrenton, Missouri. The proposed site plan is to modify the existing 1,300 square foot building with a proposed one-story, 1,200 square foot addition on the east side of the existing building. The C3 district defines office building as a permitted use in Appendix A of the zoning code. No stormwater is proposed. Payment into the stormwater fund is requested. Staff has reviewed the proposed conditional use permit, our site plan, and found the proposal is consistent with Chapter 410 subdivision regulations of the Warrenton Municipal Code. Do you have any questions for me? I think Art Carmen from Lewis and Beatty's here can answer questions on this project.
Come on up, Mr. Corman.
For the record, Bart Corman, Lewis and Beatty, have Tim and Sherry Joyce and their daughter Katie here to answer any questions that they may have as well. Mr. Burks explained it pretty well. Doing an addition just on the east side of the existing building, meet the minimum parking requirements, landscape requirements. We're adding to that to upgrade to the city code. Pretty simple, and I'll answer any questions anybody may have.
Anyone have any questions at this time?
I have one.
Go ahead.
That area is, the shaded one, that's what's the addition, correct?
The addition is to the east side of the existing building, so it's on the right
It's
side.
tiny.
Yeah.
Oh, I see now. Okay. And then where would parking be?
So this is an old bank building, and so there's parking that kind of loops all the way around it, and underneath the drive-through area, we can put some parking spots as well. So it's even shaded parking. But so the parking's there now. It's just, we just delineated it so everybody could see where they're at.
It's just an expansion to the office, correct?
Yep.
It's exciting. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anyone in the audience like to speak on behalf of this public hearing at this time? Hearing none, we'll close our public hearings for this evening and open up our regular meeting. Oh, take that back. We'll open up public comments first. First public comment will be the Adcock Place Preliminary Final Plat Subdivision 108. Mr. Burks, you want to talk about that first, or go ahead?
Okay, William and Kelly Adcock has submitted an application for a preliminary/final record plat for a 17.1 acre tract of land north on Highway MM, east of Spady Lane. Preliminary plat application is to create 2 new residential lots and has been submitted in conjunction with a final/record plat. The subject site is Zone R3, High Density District. The preliminary plat is the first step to subdividing a property. The plans show the preliminary plat design of 2 lots. Lot number 1 is 3.0 acres, and lot number 2 is 14.1 acres. Plans show easement requirement to provide municipal service to the lot in the future. The application has requested an expedited review with the preliminary plat and record plat presented simultaneously as permitted by Section 410.210 of the City Code. City utilities, water, and sanitation sewer will not be served the proposed lot due to the distance and lack of access. Proposed preliminary and final plat is consistent with Chapter 410 of the subdivision regulation of Warrenton Municipal Code. Do you have any questions for me? The applicants are here, can answer any further questions on this project.
Anybody want to speak at this time on the public comment section of the Adcock Place Preliminary Final Plat? Step forward, state your name, sir. If you're not too bashful to speak into a microphone, I'd say.
Mike Thomas, I'm with the Truesdale Board of Aldermen. I also live in Heritage Hills subdivision, which abuts the property in question. I don't have a problem with it being rezoned to a single-family residential as opposed to high density. I will say the Adcocks did approach our community about possibility of annexation, and we did not see that as a feasible option for us because of access from Heritage Hills. The access point will have to come for them, and they, I believe, already have a right-of-way from the railroad to access the property, but it will have to come from Highway M. It will not be able to be accessed through Heritage Hills. There's no point of access to that piece of property there. It's kind of a strange little piece, and the only concern I expressed to them at the time, and again, I'm all for them building a house, was if they're not happy with the noise and whatnot, because it's right next to the railroad tracks, I don't want to see any homes abandoned right behind these homes in Heritage Hills, so our neighbors are not affected by abandoned houses, so on and so forth. We've got enough building going on in the area. We don't need to be concerned about that as well. So that's all I had.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I had a,
Come forward, state your name, sir.
I'm William Adcock.
Okay.
So we don't have any plan on going anywhere once we're there. And I don't see why the noise would be different, 50 foot either way. Heritage Hills. A lot of people live there. I don't know why 50 foot closer to the tracks would matter. But I didn't ask for an entrance from Heritage Hills. I got that figured out through the railroad. But I bought this property with a lot of lack of knowledge, which I've got over the last year. So it's been tied up for a year, and I ain't been able to do nothing with it. So I'm trying to move forward, and that's why I'm trying. I don't believe it's got to get rezoned. Tim told me it don't have to be rezoned.
It doesn't have to be rezoned. This is just a preliminary and final plat. It's not a rezoning.
So it's a residential zone today?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So that's all I got, unless anyone's got any questions.
So maybe I'm misunderstanding, but the impression I'm getting is that you're wanting to build a residence on, you want
One for
two
my-
single-family residences?
Yeah, one for my mother and one for me.
Okay. But you don't have any intentions to further, and granted, the property is very geometrically unique. It would be really difficult to
That's
make it
why there's
into
only two going on.
additional lots.
Yes.
So it'd be subject to all the setbacks and all the other ordinances within the city limits of Warrenton. But I want to be clear that while it's zoned R3 high density, your intention is for two single-family residences and not further re-subdividing for additional residences?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
You can't do any more than that on that property. Like, it is 17 acres, but it's really only 10 acres.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Barton, I
Appreciate
did
your
have a
comments.
question.
Wait,
Got another.
Oh,
Mr. Cornell.
From Mars. Go ahead, Mr. Cornell.
So mine is more along the line administratively. As I read the planning and zoning, the meeting notice, the property is described as 17.1 acres north of Highway MM. And I don't believe that's accurate. I believe that's Highway M, not Highway double M. So I don't know if the way we describe that in the meeting notice causes us any concern.
Highway.
M on here?
Well, I think M and MM, is the dividing line for M and MM Highway 47?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so is your question, Mr. Cornell, that it technically is Highway M, not Highway MM?
That's correct.
Okay.
And on the paper here, it says M on this one.
Right, on the plat, it's on the cover sheet.
On the report, it says
On the
MM.
report.
That's my
Oh,
mistake.
so we want to
So-
clarify.
So can we just all agree then that we know this is the property?
If this was required to have a
Highway.
public hearing, that would make that different. We've had that issue before where we had to run the public hearing, and this is not a public hearing, it's only a public comment, so we're not required.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
Perfect, okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, John, for good catch. Anybody else have any questions at this time on the Adcock Place preliminary final plat? Hearing none, we'll move on to the second public comment, and that's the Woodland Heights preliminary plat subdivision -110.
Chris Wolf of Wunderlich Survey and Engineering has submitted a preliminary plat application on behalf of Ed Schmeltz for a 51.3 acre tract of land on the east side of Highway AA, north of the North Service Road. The request is to establish 109 single-family residential lots with associated infrastructure to support the development. Preliminary plat is the first step in the process of subdividing the property. The plans show a preliminary design of lots, roadways, sidewalks, stormwater management facilities, sanitation, sewers, water lines, fire hydrants, street lights, and easement required to be provided by municipal service to the future lots. Once the preliminary plat is approved, the developer must complete construction and improvement plans per section 110.225 of the Warrenton Municipal Code. Finally, a final and record plat is submitted with all requirements, guarantees, and fees to subdivide the property officially. And staff has reviewed the proposed preliminary plat and found the proposal is consistent with Chapter 410 of the subdivision regulations of Warrenton Municipal Code. Further, the proposed design of the residential subdivision furthers the goal of the comprehensive plan. Do you have any questions for me?
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Burks? We'll open it up for public comments at this time.
When the applicant.
Oh, applicant, I'm sorry, Mr. Wolf. Didn't mean to skip you there. You got a presentation again?
Yeah, I just
Thank
got
you,
a couple of slides
You're
to
fine.
run through here.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, so this is a development, I guess the last time we were here was for a PUD, planned unit development that was south, as part of Creekside Apartments. We extended Creekside Apartment as previous in our last presentation for the PUD. And at that time, we talked about having single family to the north. We kind of showed a quick sketch of what we were planning on doing. This is the rest of that. This is the preliminary plat for those single family lots. We previously zoned it, so there's not a zoning issue. It's zoned correctly. It's just splitting the 53 acres that are left up into single family lots. So it was basically 109 single family lots, zoned R2. So minimum 10,000 square foot lots, 10-foot side setbacks, 25 fronts and 30 rears. We laid out the preliminary plat on the property to take into account our access points. Basically to the south, we have the Creekside Apartments PUD that has access to the North Service Road and Spady Lane. And then this development is going to have access to the Creekside Drive, which goes all the way down the service road. It connects to Spody Lane to the east, and then AA. So we have access for MoDOT off of AA. Kind of laid out our major areas that are for common ground. As you can kind of see on the slide, those tree buffer areas, basically the wooded areas, we're kind of leaving that acreage alone. I think the code requires us to have 2.1 acres of common ground, and we have 9.5 acres of common ground. So basically we're exceeding that. On the north end, we're tying into AA, and then we have a proposed detention basin. I guess when you first come in, we do have our mailbox area set up there. As you come within the development, we're going to have a detention basin. And then as we travel farther to the south, we're going to have an additional common ground park area, and then we tie into the PUD farther to the south. And just the accesses, I kind of talked about them, but basically this slide kind of shows basically 3 access points: Service Road, Spody Lane, and AA. Conclusion statement here is, we came to you guys initially and zoned it. Now we're asking for a preliminary plat approval. Basically, we're providing through our preliminary plat process all the city's services, city and water district in this case, because it splits the property, but water, sewer, street, and stormwater to all the lots. We got 109 lots on 51.3 acres. The fire department has seen the plans and approved the hydrant locations, access points, and open space requirement we meet multiple times over. So just kind of a quick little deal, but if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy.
So I've got a question on the mailbox area. I know that's more or less the way that mail is handled in subdivisions now, is there is no directed driveway. It's all in banks of mailboxes. However, and I've not seen every subdivision in every community, but it seems to me to have 109 mailboxes at the entrance off of Highway AA as the only mailbox location is going to have the effect of creating a bit of a choke point at certain times of the day. Is there, first of all, can you tell me, does the post office require that there only be one drop location? Or is it possible to add some additional mailbox banks inside the subdivision so that neighbors have their access to their mail? The ones that live farther from Highway AA have access to their mail more closely where their homes are.
Yes, that's a good question. When I talked to the Postmaster General about it, we tried to split it up into multiple pieces. And this is just over a phone conversation I had with them. And they basically said that they want it all in one place. We started talking about the total number. And basically, we talked about trying to split it up into two. And that was something that they were going to investigate on their end. So I have not heard back on that. But at this point, the direction I was led is all in one place. They didn't want to have to make multiple stops for them.
Is that decision solely their decision?
No.
That's who I was instructed to get the information from.
I mean, I know my son lives in Lake St. Louis, and theirs started out as, when they started building the subdivision, which is huge, started out as a bank, but then as the houses went in, they put 4 boxes per, so they individually have a bank of 4 between 4 houses in their subdivisions. I mean, it looks very attractive. It's very nice, and because I can see Scott's point on that too. So,
I really feel like the biggest issue is 5:15, 5:30, everybody on their way home from work grabbing the mail, literally within one lot away from Highway AA is going to be a forever nuisance. And we can talk about it during the open discussion.
Right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can I add something?
Yes, sir.
So, there is a code provision that says cluster mailboxes, cluster mailbox areas and cluster style mailboxes shall be required as directed by the U.S. Postmaster. So, and that's in the city code.
So that, I'm interpreting that as the postmaster gets to dictate.
Right.
But they're still investigating this, correct?
Yeah, they're still checking into it. I mean, we talked about, they said that we could put it, we didn't have to have it at the entrance, we didn't have to have it at a certain spot, they wanted somewhere, but they were kind of pointing us towards one point. So if we can split that up, I don't think the developer would be opposed to having a couple different ones, but that's just something that we have to get approval from them.
Short of that, if they absolutely dig their heels in and don't recognize the public safety question that we're talking about, I really feel like it needs to be somewhere more interior and off of Highway AA access.
Further a little bit in the middle.
But we can hash that out during the open discussion.
Anybody else have any questions at this time?
I have one other, and that was, as we've talked about the development of all of this property over the course of multiple meetings, one of the issues that's been brought up several times is the inadequacy of Spady Lane, North Spady Lane, to actually accept traffic, and I don't think that's changed since the last time we reviewed this. And always in the past, we've kind of put some limitations on that the access and dumping traffic onto North Spady is not to occur until the North Spady is fully paved and suitable to the amount of traffic. Is that still the case?
I believe that was a condition on the PUD, I do believe. That's going to be a gated access until Spady Lane is brought up to paving or hard surfaced.
And this access on this particular plat, is that the same gated access that we spoke of before, or is this a different access?
Well, the access to AA and to the south, they'll have to.
Right, well, I know the AA access is
He's
there.
talking about
I know-
Spady.
But I'm talking about where
Spady's the same.
where it dumps on Spady.
Spady's the same.
Same access.
It's the same access.
yeah.
So, you know,
Right.
as we go through this, I probably want to clarify that too. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else have any questions at this time? Open it up to step forward. State your name once again for the record, please.
Yeah, that's Melissa Huskett, and I live on North Spuddy Lane. Can you guys go back to the map of the actual houses and the greenery and everything? The actual, where you can see the land and not the,
From his presentation?
yeah. May of 2023, I believe, is marked on the bottom of it. Where you can see the actual trees and driveways and everything, the town map. Yeah, right there. Okay. There was another one that was even more broader in that actual area for Spody. Okay. That's not accurate. As much clearing as they have done, it is all stripped away. And I got the letter saying that it is bumping up to my property, and then talks about the corner of going in so many 100 feet in radius of the corner of my property, which is kind of misleading. It's just a bunch of information of longitude latitude lines and corner rod, steel rod, and this corner of the property is deed on the property of the Huskett property, and no one knows on our street what they're actually talking about. Are they talking about wanting to come and take some of our land for your thing? The also is the light pollution now that we have. If there were shooting comets or anything else like that, we could not see nothing. You had to go out in the front in the middle of this road to see anything. Now we can see the lights all the way in town. Also, with them building right up to our property, any of us who have any bit of land is opening us up for liabilities from teenagers. And one person in this room can say when they were a young kid, didn't wander through the woods. So, and having a creek in the back of some of our properties, it's not very much land. Teenagers smoke, people trespass, people break in. It is opening up a liability for any of us who have just a little bit of land or the creek running in the back of the property. So that is a huge concern. But also, we'd like to have a little more information on what are they talking about with their intention of building that butts up to our property. My driveway, if you can pull up that map again with the road, and there was another one, it said May of 2023, and actually my neighbor who's right next to me, he's here also. No, it was actually a satellite image.
PowerPoint, I believe.
Ma'am, the letter that was sent out has the legal description for their property, so they're not encroaching on anybody else's property. It's just the legal description for the 51 acres that they...
Okay, because it says to the curve and the radius footage of the corner of lining up to... and
That's the way
what
the
that
legal
meant.
description is.
So our concern is with this being built, and for those of us who do have just a little bit of land, I only have 2 acres, and the liability of kids, you know, anything that can happen, is there going to be any kind of divided way or anything put into paperwork about that it's not community, you know, land, it's actually ownership, private land, anything to help us to have to worry about not having any kind of problems ourselves from the community that's getting ready to be built right up to the back of our property?
What is your last name?
Heskett.
Your property is right here. This is the line.
Oh, no, I was looking for the actual map that
There's only.
that actually showed the driveways and everything. It said May of 2023 on the bottom of it.
Wanted to clarify too, that letter that you received, that's required by our code, that any property within 300 feet of a property with a preliminary plat gets notified of that project.
That basically
So that's
they're
why
going
you
right up
received
to it.
that. Yep.
Right.
So anybody within 300 feet of their property line got that same
Right.
notice.
So a lot of us were actually worried about, is there any intention of building like a wall or anything to protect us from trespassers or any kind of liability that is going to attract kids and people wandering onto our properties and into our creek that's on our property? So there won't be anything marking that it's not your land, that it's actually privately owned or anything like that?
Green space. According to this road, there's the green space.
No, it's just a couple hundred feet. And my driveway is actually a big U. And, did you buy the property that butts all the way up to the side of mine on North Spody Lane?
51 acres.
Well, now there's a barrier. A little barrier, so many feet right before the side of my house.
The black barrier?
Yeah.
It's a silt fence that keeps silt from our lumber property.
That's fine, but you do own, you did buy that whole tract. So, would you mind cutting down the dead trees that's right by our propane tank? Because we've already had 2 of your trees almost hit our propane tank.
We can look into it.
That'd be great.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right. Anybody else would like to speak at this time? Can you state your name for the record, sir?
My name's Nicholas Burris.
Burris, thank you.
Burris. So my house is right where that greenery, that's actually my neighbor. So I have a pond that is right adjacent to that. They have all that land that's in green right now, that's all cleared. There's no trees there. They cleared that in the fall. I've cleaned up so many dead animals off my property because they cleaned that up right in the fall when all the animals are settling in. Had a kind of a big issue with that. But all that area is currently clear. And it shows that trees on there right now. So on that satellite map that she was talking about, there's a big U-shaped driveway, that's my property. So right there where that road comes in from Spady Lane. My property is adjacent to hers, right next to it.
Yeah, we saw that there.
So what kind of liability is that going to put on me and my family? Because we got a pond back there for other kids and other people coming onto our property. We've got a young 4-year-old right now. Are you going to put up a fence separating the subdivision from our houses?
No.
Any signs posted?
Any signs, warning, anything like that posted? Are you planting trees back that you tore out already that are shown to be there on the map?
All we showed was green space.
Yeah.
We didn't say trees.
Right, green space doesn't always mean trees, though. That means common ground.
Now, is this also going to make the rest of Spady Lane in city ordinance?
No,
Spady Lane is not part of the
that's not part of the
city's,
city limits.
I know, it's not part of the city limits, but is that going to push the city line to our residents?
City limits is not moving.
Okay. And then also, with them having access to Spady Lane, it's already caused a lot of traffic down Spady from all their construction workers and all their trucks and stuff, and that's tearing up the roads. Are they going to be contributing to Spady Lane getting paved?
Well, my observation on that is if they're a resident of Warren County, they pay tax to Warren County, and Warren County maintains the road. So the answer would indirectly be yes for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
You guys are planning on paving North Spody Lane soon?
That's not our, that's out of the city
Okay,
limits.
but is there
That's
any
the county's
concern
road,
of?
that's the
That's
county
county.
maintenance, they have to make
Okay.
that decision.
Well, when you said you were hoping because of the traffic and everything, we do have a serious problem with people going down North Spody Lane to cut off at A, going as fast as almost 35, 45 miles per hour. It's really dangerous. We also have a severe problem with people dumping on that road. And I've chased a couple drug dealers off that road too.
We've just asked, in our position, we just asked that, previously, that until they get Spade Lane up to speed, that access point is going to be blocked at that point. And
Okay.
but we're going to discuss that more further, so.
That would be great. With this being part of this, would it also consider possibly adding maybe some streetlights on that? I mean, is this all tied into it, or will we have to
Yeah,
jump to county?
that's all in there,
City
yeah.
limits.
So
yeah.
we'd have to jump to county on that one?
Yeah, all the
Okay.
repairs and everything on.
And I know previously everyone on our road denied having our road paved because we do have such high volume, people flying down that road. I think a lot of people wouldn't mind if it was possibly, if the speed limit was knocked down to about 25 miles per hour.
And you'll just have to keep addressing the county on that. Thank
Because
you.
it is really dangerous. I mean, we got people flying like 35, 45, even faster down that little bitty gravel road. It's a little crazy, so.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thanks.
Appreciate it. This time, we'll close our public comments on the Woodland Heights preliminary plat and open up our regular Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for this evening. And the first order of business will be our minutes from the March 2nd, 2023 meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Costello, second by Mr. Cullum to approve the minutes as submitted. Any other questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Ms. Madden? Yes. Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
I was not here.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Priest is absent. Mr. Dieterman?
Yes.
Mr. Cornell?
Yes.
Ms. Cullum?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0 with one abstention and one absent. Next order of business will be amendment to section 405.140 regarding sidewalk and pedestrian way, amendment -129.
I'll take this one.
Thank you.
So this is a proposal for removing rebar and sidewalks. It's kind of a thing that not a lot of people do anymore. We just put 2.5 miles of sidewalk in with not a single piece of rebar, so it's not really needed as much as it used to be. The materials are better, the installation practices are better. We're just proposing to take that out to make it a little easier for the builders, so.
I'd like to make a motion to approve ADM 129, the revisions as presented.
Second. I have a motion by Mr. Cullum, second by Mr. Dieterman to approve the amendment to section 405.140 regarding sidewalk and pedestrian way, amendment 129. Thank you, Melody. Any other questions at this point? Roll call vote.
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Dieterman?
Yes.
Mr. Cornell?
Yes.
Ms. Cullum?
Yes.
Ms. Madden? Yes. Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0 with one absent. I just can't help it. It sounds like we got John locked in a closet. Not that we did that when we were kids or anything. Come on now. All right. Next order of business will be the amendment to section 420.090 fence regulations, amendment -130.
I'll take this one as well.
Thank you, Mr. Druckoff.
This is to make, we have some problems with fences on corner lots especially.
Right.
When you talk about site distance, you talk about side building lines, you talk about rear building lines, it's very difficult where we should place that fence on the side yard. So this kind of clears that up. We're going to go to the side building lines and the rear right-of-way lines and make it just cut and dry, simple. We're not out there measuring with sticks and seeing what our site distance is, and we're just clearing it up, making it easier for everybody to understand the code. That's the basic reason for this.
Never bad to make it easier.
I'm assuming existing fences are all grandfathered to whatever they were built to.
Yeah, we can't go make fence. Most of them, truthfully, most of them are probably within spec of this anyways.
Right.
It really comes into play when you have some of these newer developments. and I'm not knocking the developments, but some of these lots, it's not just a cross anymore. That cross goes into a curve, and when that cross goes into a curve, it's really affecting that side building line. So some of the lots, the fences just are not conducive, so.
Well, the sight lines can be an issue, and we've had it come up in P and Z, and we've had requests for variances in the past, and we've had hard feelings over saying no, but it's difficult on a corner lot to put a solid fence up and be able to see around it.
I remember someone had to tear one down because they built it and then came forward.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we're trying to prevent that.
Good. Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve ADM 130 amendments section 420.090.
Motion by Mr. Dieterman, second by Ms. Madden to approve amendment section 420.090 fence regulations, amendment 130. Any other questions? Roll call vote.
Mr. Dieterman?
Yes.
Mr. Cornell?
Yes.
Ms. Cullum?
Yes.
Ms. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
And Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0 with one absent. Next order of business will be the Ed Schmeltz Office Building Warehouse Site Plan and Conditional Use, Site Plan 162 and Conditional Use Permit 89.
So this project is for the two office buildings and a warehouse at the 4.23 acres on the west side of Highway 47 and Bruni Parkway. It'll be built in 3 phases. The project has met all the site plan and
Is a single motion appropriate for both site plan and conditional use, or do they need to be separate motions?
I would do them separately.
And we're approving 1 and 2 today, correct? Like, we're reviewing 1 and 2 today?
one in
It's the whole project.
the whole project.
Okay.
It's the site plan and conditional use together.
3's just there
On the same
for a
report.
future state.
Okay.
They might not be doing it with, it could be 3 to 5 years down the road, but they're just getting it lined out now. So when that time comes, they've already been here.
I would make a motion to recommend approval of Ed Schmeltz Office Building Warehouse Site Plan, SP 162 is submitted.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Costello, second by Mr. Cullum to approve the Ed Schmeltz Office Building and Warehouse Site Plan 162 as submitted. Any questions at this time? Roll call vote.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Dieterman?
Yes.
Mr. Cornell?
Yes.
What do you say?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ms. Cullum?
Yes.
Ms. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes. Motion passes 9-0.
And I'll follow up with a motion to recommend approval of conditional use plan 89 with the inclusion of the condition that there be no outside storage of any building materials, equipment, or other items other than regular parking.
Validation, is this conditional use 89 or 90? I thought you just said 89.
It is 89.
Well, it says 89 on the agenda.
Sorry, I was looking at the tab. The variance in the PDF
Oh,
versus
well.
the...
Sorry.
Oh,
It's
good
89.
catch. What is it?
It's 89.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I retract my question.
We have a motion by Mr. Costello to approve the conditional use permit
second.
89 and seconded by Mr. Dieterman.
Yes.
Any other questions at this time?
With the condition.
That was the conditions of no outside storage of any outside material or,
Equipment,
Equipment.
etc.
you guys were okay with that, Mr. Schmeltz? Any other questions? Roll call vote?
Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Dieterman?
Yes.
Mr. Cornell?
Yes.
Mrs. Cullum?
Yes.
Mrs. Madden?
Motion passes 9-0. These will all come in front of the board on what date?
16th.
16th. Just to let them know, May 16th. And next order, say again?
It's the 16th.
Okay, yes. Next order of business would be the Joyce Law Site Plan, Site Plan -163.
This is for the 1,200 square foot addition to the existing 1,300 square foot office building they have now. So they've met all the city requirements for the site plan.
Entertain a motion or questions, if anybody has any?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the site plan SP 163 Joyce Law as presented and discussed.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Cullum, second by Mr. Costello to approve the Joyce Law Site Plan 163 as submitted. Any other further questions at this time? Roll call vote.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Dieterman?
Yes.
Mr. Cornell?
Yes.
Mrs. Cullum?
Yes.
Ms. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Mr. Cullum? And Mr. Cullum. See, this gets you a little confusing.
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Next order of business will be the Adcock Place Preliminary Final Plat Subdivision -108.
This is a preliminary and final record plat to subdivide the 17.1 acre to one lot of 3 acre, and the other second lot will be 14.1 acre lot. No houses to be built at this time. Haven't received any plans, so this is just to subdivide the property.
So they still would have to come back in front of us before they, no.
What about the road sides, is that meets the requirement that we have today, correct? The size of, like, you know, when you go to the neighborhood and that road.
So they have
Okay, where are we
access.
looking at? Wait, no, hold on. Where are we at?
We're on the triangle piece, that's a preliminary and final plat
Their
for
access.
Adcock.
I'm looking at the wrong plat.
Okay.
Tract. I'm on the other one.
They will not have to come back
Go
before
on.
us. The only thing that they're going to have to do now is get building plans approved, and that's through the building department. So this is a preliminary and a final plat for approval.
There was discussion, just wanted to validate this, although it's zoned high density, gentlemen only plan, and all this is a total division of a current lot.
Correct.
Okay.
So he's still only permitted to build one house on each lot. That's that you can only build one house per lot. So if he would ever want to build more houses, which he said he will not, he will have to subdivide again, which will come back to here.
Back here.
That's
Okay.
that's our protection is what I'm asking.
Yes, because
Okay.
right now you have 2 lots, you're going to get 2 houses.
We have been very careful
Okay.
for years to make sure that we don't set ourselves up for something down the road.
Yep. If anything would change from those plans, they would have to come back to here.
Right, that's what I was making sure. Very good, thank you for your clarification.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the final plat subdivision 108 as displayed and discussed,
Preliminary and final.
preliminary and
And
final.
final.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Cullum, second by Mr. Durbin to approve the Adcock Place Preliminary and Final Plat Subdivision -180. Any other further questions? Roll call vote.
Ms. Cullum?
Yes.
Ms. Madden?
Yep.
Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Dieterman?
Yes.
Mr. Cornell?
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0 with one absent.
And one in the closet.
And one in the closet, half one in the closet. Sounds like the covers are getting heavier on you. Next is Woodland Heights Preliminary, Ms. Cullum.
Thank you.
We're there now, subdivision -110, if you want to open up with your question.
Yeah, I do have a question. So this road that's on the map here, does that meet is the intention to, like, whatever size we have on our code, I forget what size.
26
it
feet.
is. Right. That's going to be part of this whole,
Yeah, all the roadways meet the city code requirements for the
Okay.
streets.
okay. Because I'm thinking about, like, when you have guests, this is 109 single-family homes. When you have Christmas, for example, everybody comes home, visiting, parking on the streets. So I wanted to make sure that we plan for that, or at least cover that with what we already have established.
Yeah, and a lot of these lots are larger lots, too.
Okay.
A lot of them are over 10,000 square feet, so.
This is zoned R2 currently.
Yes.
Which, you know, we had discussion on other subdivisions in the past, but the building setbacks in R2, prior to some of the changes that were made last year, the setbacks are a little bit deeper, which gives you more driveway space. I don't know now, I guess, is the setback 30 feet in R3 and R2 now?
Yeah, they match.
They're the same now.
They're the same.
Yeah, everything in R3 is the same.
But yeah, the lots are slightly larger than what the city minimum requirements are.
So our code, anything under 26 feet is required a parking stripe, meaning that, I don't remember the distance from the curb, but there's actually a stripe, and then if they park outside of that stripe, it's actually an enforceable code ordinance violation. So most builders do not want to put the parking stripe in, so they're going to go 26 feet, they're going to go over 26 feet. So.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Schmelz, I'd like to ask on the mailbox location, if the post office, even if they give you two, I still have some heartburn over locating that close to Highway AA with one of the two. When I look at the large plat, and you've got common ground B and utility easement, that 3.06 acres with the detention basin. On the west side of the road, is that property, it doesn't look like it's subdivided for development at this point. Is that property owned by you also?
Across the other side.
So,
Yes, there's a small strip in there, correct.
okay. If only one bank of mailboxes is allowed, I don't think it's logical that you stick it all the way to the south end of the development. That's potentially a problem for everybody that lives on the north end. But this area on the west side of Shallow Water, effectively across from Detention Basin 1. So Detention Basin 1 is on the east side of Shallow Water, and on the west side of Shallow Water, if you in fact own that and it's some form of common ground, if only one bank of mailboxes is allowed, would that be a location that would be feasible to locate it?
Up at lot 76.
Right.
That's what I was thinking. Thank you.
We did go with the post office to try to get multiple locations. We wanted 2 locations also. Obviously, that would be much better. And then, like you said, we don't want to put it towards the south. We're trying to funnel most of this traffic from AA and not through the multifamily section for obvious reasons. So we can, if they'll let us do that, and as long as we can get parkings, I think we had 4 or 5 parking spots in there now. So as long as we can get parking in there, I'm fine with doing that.
And I'm not trying to dictate exactly where to locate it.
Oh, I mean,
my gut tells me where it's drawn now is a never go away kind of problem. And that doesn't help anyone that's going to live there. And that's all I'm trying to address.
There's a little ditch that goes across there. We just wanted to make sure we had room to the south of that.
Right,
so.
and that's why I want to leave you some leeway. I'm not trying to tell you what's exact spot.
No, that's fine. If they won't let us do 2, we can move it there. That's no problem. It doesn't affect us at all, so.
And so this is single family home, so, and we're just approving the subdivision of the lots, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we still have to come back whenever you have a plan, or no?
No, this is it.
This is when
the
they
plan.
have, because this is when people want to buy the lot, they want to build whatever.
This is the preliminary.
This is the preliminary, so this is still up to change just a little bit. The final will come back, and the final will be the meets and bounds, every lot subdivided out. That's when each lot will get actually subdivided.
Sorry, you're right.
Yeah, and then, and that's when,
what I was
that's when you
asking.
see
Maybe I didn't
the
ask
road widths, you'll see, it's a much more detailed plan. This is a kind of a broad overview. This is our plan, we haven't got everything quite tweaked out yet, so.
But if your question is that, what are the houses going to look like? Typically, as long as they conform to the city
Right,
standards,
city
then
standards.
we may never know until they're getting built.
I'm just curious about like how they're going to partition it. If it's this way, this is the lot that they're gonna, like, if I'm buying a property. 41, I don't know, 41 is right here, is what I'm seeing. That's the size, so that's what we're approving,
Right.
just the subdivisions of
Yes.
these properties. Okay, that's what I just wanted to clarify.
Basically, you're approving 109 lots split up into
these-
basically this design. The back lot line might change by a foot when they figure out that, the land's a little different than they expected, but that'll all come to you at the final,
Okay.
will be the final measurements on everything.
Okay, thank you.
If there's no further questions, I'd make a motion to recommend approval of the Woodland Heights preliminary plat subdivision 110, subject to the developer finding a little bit more neighbor-friendly location for the mailbox bank or banks. And then, of course, we'll get to see that on the final later on.
Mr. Costello, I think that also needs to be subject, though, to postmaster approval.
Right.
Because they don't have total control over that.
No, and I recognize that. We don't have any authority to tell the post office much.
And also the stipulation is to be whatever.
That's already on
That's
the
already- that's already-
PUD.
Yeah, that's on the
it's on the
PUD.
PUD.
Thank you, though, for bringing it. So we have a motion by Mr. Costello.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Cullum to approve the Woodland Heights preliminary plat subdivision -110 with the caveat that we look into better location for the post office.
Optimal location.
Optimal
of the
location
Post
for-
office bank.
According to approval of the
Postmaster.
Postmaster General. Did you get all that, John? Oh, he's covered up. All right, so we have a
I
motion by
got it.
Mr. Costello, second by Mrs. Cullum to approve this subdivision -110. Any other further questions at this time? Roll call vote?
Ms. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Dieterman?
Yes.
Mr. Cornell?
Yes.
Ms. Cullum?
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0, and that will also come in front of our great Board of Aldermen, May the 16th. Any other thing? We'll close the regular meeting and turn it over to Mr. Burks for any announcements.
No meeting for next month, but
No meeting at all? How can you get by without us for a whole month?
we need to consider a date to meet with the board for a meeting so we can go over some.
Like a work session?
Yeah, work session. So, to get a date together.
I would just suggest that the Board of Aldermen pick a date and whoever makes it can make it.
If there's no meeting, why don't we just try to make it the same night as the next regular meeting?
Yeah, the problem with that, both Johnny and I are gone that night, so maybe some other night where one of us is available.
Yeah, we like you guys to be here.
Yeah. So,
Well, you guys get, at the next Board of Aldermen meeting, just discuss some dates and email us and
Yeah.
we'll try to be here.
that's all I have.
I move a motion to close the meeting.
Already closed.
Oh,
Well,
Well, I mean, now we have to, yeah, she's right.
move to adjourn, you're right.
yeah, to adjourn.
We got a motion by Ms. Cullum. She's wanting to go to adjourn. Does Mr. Deitch, Mr. Deitch is not here, so got to hear somebody say a second. All right, second by Mr. Cullum to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks for coming. Have a good night. All right, good job. Well.